Hey, everybody. Welcome to today's show. Welcome to Advocate Information Highway. I'm your host, Anthony Lorito-Duke, and we have an interesting topic for today's show in which it is virus cases are rising. So let's get right into this. You know, I hear all the elected officials up in Washington, D.C., and also from many other different states, and they're saying virus cases are on the rise. Virus cases are on the rise. And they're talking, some of them are talking about reinstalling the mandates and everything. Here's what I say. First of all, we have to take a few things into consideration. Number one, you still got the morons that just don't want to do the vaccines, that are refusing to get the vaccines, right? That's number one. Number two, you also have a bunch of idiots and morons who don't cover their mouths and their nose and the noses when they sneeze or when they cough. Okay? Then you also have another bunch of idiots who go around in the middle of winter in like 10 degrees weather and they're walking around in a pair of shorts and a tank top. Okay? So, of course, cases are going to be on the rise. Plus, you have to realize this other thing. We're in winter time now. What the hell do you think is going to end up happening? Virus cases are going to be on the rise for decades upon decades and decades. Right during the winter time, flu cases were on the rise. Okay? So, and when I grew up, okay, and generations even before me, the flu was around back then. The government didn't turn around and say, well, we got this new variant. We got this other new variant. We found a new variant of the flu. They didn't do that crap. It was the one thing that was mandated especially when I was growing up. Kids going to school, you had to have all your vaccines. Done deal. There was no ifs, no ands, no buts about nothing. And nobody complained. Okay? But we didn't have a government that did all these mandates and stuff like that. It wasn't all these different forms of the virus and all this other crap and whatever. And then and here's another thing to think about. Generations ago, like for those who are in the 90s and whatever now, when they were growing up, there was viruses back then, right? They lived through it. They got through it. Because they did through old school remedies. They drank like orange juice every day to build up their immune systems. They dressed appropriately during each season of the weather. They did things appropriately to build up their immune systems and stuff like that. And they got through it. And they had many other diseases even back then and other viruses and stuff like that. They got through it. Think about it. And they didn't have all these mandates that we do today or whatever. They didn't do it. So to try to reinstate all the mandates and everything is a waste of time at this point. We have the vaccines out there. We got all precautionary measures out there already, or whatever. And in today's society, if a person's sick, they can still do work by doing it virtually now. They didn't have that back then, back in the day. Today, they do have it for many businesses. Not all businesses, but for many. Now, here's the other thing. Like I could see school officials saying for kids that are out of school for the holiday season or whatever, them to go back to school, they got to be vaccinated. Okay, I can understand that. All right. But to reinstate all these other mandates or whatever, it's pure nonsense. It's pure nonsense at this point because, like I said, there's going to be people refusing to take vaccines. You're going to have a bunch of morons and idiots out there who are not going to cover their noses when they sneeze. They're not going to cover their mouths when they cough, And also, people just don't wash their hands really much anymore. If you cover your mouth when you cough and teach your kids to cover their mouths when they cough, and I'm not talking with to cover their mouth with their hands, I'm talking about if you sneeze or you cough, you cover your nose and your mouth with this part of the arm right here. Okay? So that way you're not spreading any germs, because when people cough or sneeze in their hands, you're spreading more germs for when they touch everything or whatever. Seriously. And not that many people have their brains out of their rear ends to wash their hands quite often. Or here's another novel idea: use hand sanitizers. And today you can have smaller hand sanitizers you can keep in your pocket or your purse or whatever, and carry it around with you. Common sense stuff, right? If you use your brain. Now, you know, um, and if you take care of your health, you can use some old school remedies. Old school remedies are really the best in my opinion. Back in the day, they drank a glass of orange juice to build up their immune systems. And they had a bowl of oatmeal during the winter time, and so on and so forth. They took care of their health and whatever. They build up their immune systems. And they got through it. So if they could do it, come on, common sense says we can do it. Really, common sense. So there's no sense in trying to reinforce the mandates and everything like it was, before. There's no reason to go backwards. There's no reason. We got all the necessary stuff out there already, for vaccines and testing, and they could even do things, take vaccines at home and stuff like that now and whatever, and do testings at home and stuff like that. Seriously. And here's another thing to take into consideration. Doctors, even today, they can't tell the difference really between COVID and the flu, simply because of the fact they have similar symptoms. Different illnesses have similar symptoms, okay? And unless if the person is doubled over and so on and so forth, you can't tell the difference between COVID and the flu. You can't. Okay? There's no way to tell the difference. Seriously. Just like I said in a prior episode, just a couple of months ago, my husband was really sick, not doubled over or anything, but he was just really sick. He went to the hospital, to our local hospital, and he went to their emergency room. They did 2 tests on him. Okay, and we were there for 5 freaking hours in their damn emergency room. They did 2 tests on him. The swab test up the nose, and they did a chest x-ray. 5 hours later, the doctor walks back into the room and says to my husband, "We're discharging you. You got a cough." They did not prescribe any medicines for him. They didn't send any medicines to his pharmacy that he uses. They didn't give him any they didn't do any, tell him any follow-ups to do. They just gave him his papers and said, "You're discharged," and they diagnosed it as cough. Next day, very next day, my husband gets a phone call from a representative at that hospital saying that he has COVID. Right? They called him up on the phone. They told him, "You got COVID, goodbye." And they hung up the phone on him. They didn't tell him any follow-ups to do. They didn't give him any prescriptions, for his pain that he was going through. Nothing. They did nothing for him. So I suggested for him to call up his primary care doctor, tell him what happened. Thank God, thank goodness he listened. He called up his primary care doctor. His primary care doctor is fantastic. He sent the prescription over to my husband's pharmacy, told my husband to take that for about a week, and then within a week to go get another COVID test. Within a week, my husband felt so much better after taking that medicine that he went to one of the walk-in medical places right down the road from us, not back at the effing emergency room at the pathetic, worthless hospital that he was in before. Went right down the road to a walk-in medical place. He took another COVID test. He wasn't even in there 15 minutes. Wasn't even in there 15 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. The doctor called him to the back, and she simply said, "You never had any COVID, so you had a cold. Be like a flu or something or whatever. You never had the COVID, like the hospital said." And yet, after about a week of taking that medicine that his primary care doctor prescribed for him, in a week he felt so much better. So this proves my point, ladies and gentlemen. This proves my point that the asinine doctors can't tell the difference between symptoms of COVID versus the symptoms of the flu or whatever, because they're similar symptoms. Different illnesses have similar symptoms. So they can't tell the difference, really, unless if the person's like doubled over or whatever. Seriously. Otherwise, they can't tell the difference. They can't. So, and the other thing is, starting next month, there's going to be a new Congress in which the Republicans will be taking back control of the United States House of Representatives. And when that happens, not too long after that happens, it's going to be, they're basically going to tell Democrats, listen, this COVID crap, all these different variants and everything else, blah, 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 done. And they're going to say, listen, we'll compromise. We can say this. Once a year, go get vaccinated. It's going to be the suggestion, just like with the flu. So basically, it'll be around the same time, like during the winter time, when the weather gets cold and stuff in many areas. Once a year, it'll be suggested to go get vaccinated. That's it. Not all these different variants. Oh, we found another variant. None of that crap is going to be happening anymore after the Republicans take back the United States House of Representatives. And so really, to do mandates, it's pointless at this time. If we just do some old school things, if you can't take the vaccines, drink orange juice or whatever, build up your immune system, stuff like that, and we can get through this. Again, if you have to cough or sneeze, you cough and sneeze right into this part of the arm, right over here. You don't cough and sneeze in your mouth or whatever, and in your hands and everything, and then spread germs even more. You don't do that. Seriously. Common sense stuff. Common sense. And you teach your kids, if you got a cough or sneeze, do it right into this part of the arm. And cover your mouth and your nose or whatever. Teach your kids to do that too. And also at the same time, use hand sanitizers. They come portable now. You can like this size. You can put them in your pocket or your purse or whatever, and use it. If you don't do that, you get your brain out of your rear end. You keep washing your hands then. Seriously, honestly. There's so many other precautionary things that we can do to protect ourselves. Oh, but anyways, I want to remind all my fans out there about the business that my husband and I have together called AWLDNY. The link to there is awldny.com. You guys can check out all the products on there. Also I also want to remind all my fans about my other business, my other website that I have called Advocate Information Highway. And the link to there is AIHNY.com. Again, that is AIHNY.com. You guys can check out all the pages on there. And on the homepage of my website of Advocate Information Highway, you'll see the link to my internet store on Zazzle.com, in which I designed a lot of products and they're up for sale on there. Also, on the homepage of my website of Advocate Information Highway, you'll see the links to the 2 books that I wrote. And if you guys follow those links, you guys can check out and purchase both of my books as well. And also, before I go, I want to say like a couple more things. You know, if any sort of mandates do need to be in place, I could see that if it's for like schools, you know, if the heads of schools say, listen, if you guys want to come back to school, you got to show proof you're vaccinated. And maybe even some businesses, the head of businesses, maybe they can say to the workers, listen, you want to come back to work, you got to show proof of vaccines. I can see that possibly happening. Otherwise, mandates are no good, really. And I also want to say to all my fans out there, for all of you guys who celebrate Hanukkah or any other type of holiday, or even if it's even Christmas or whatever, from all of us here, we wish all of you guys out there happy holidays, no matter what holiday you may celebrate. And so with that, take care, everybody. Bye.